Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick, and today we'll be reviewing A Quiet Place Part 2.
I was a little hesitant going into this one. I liked the first one.
Yeah.
There were some flaws I didn't love about it, but I kept hearing about all the great reviews coming out of this one. I was like, you know what? I need to go back to the movies. I need to check this out.
And I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised with this one. I think it is one of the better horror sequels that I've ever seen, and John Krasinski does a fantastic job in this one. Obviously, if you saw the first one, you know what happens with his character. You do get a little bit of his character in the very, very beginning of the movie. We're not going to do any spoilers in this review, but obviously right off the bat, you've seen kind of that clip that's been going around of how it all began. So I do like how they set that up, because you don't want to forget about his character and how important his character really is to the story.
Yeah.
And you see that with his family, and I like that they kind of bring you back to how he was as a father right off the bat. So you have that emotional impact already caked into the beginning of the film.
I also really enjoyed that you see from the trailers it shows day one, and I feel like you don't get that a lot in movies. Something just happens and it's just like that.
Yeah.
And where would you be in that situation? How you would react if something fell from the sky?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I didn't like about the first one. I think it kind of cleans it up in the second one. Is I didn't love how it's just these things, and I'm supposed to accept these rules and accept what's happening. And I know some people like the ambiguity of that. It kind of adds this mystery to the film. I like getting that little bit of setup that they gave us in this one.
Again, great sound design in this movie. It's just so spot on.
Yeah, and the one thing I really like about this one in particular is the first one is really well done, but I felt it was almost like a gimmick. Like, this is a one-trick pony. This movie's about just being quiet is really what it is. I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any means, but it didn't really have anything past that. I feel like in this movie, the use of sound design is so much better. Especially when you're seeing the perspective of the daughter, when it transitions to her in the complete silence, like her not being able to hear anything.
Yeah.
That creates a really impactful moment multiple times in the film.
Emily Blunt returns as Evelyn, and she is fantastic in this film. She gives such great emotion. There's multiple scenes where I got a little teary-eyed just from her performance alone. It was just outstanding.
I really love her character as the strength as a mother. Like, she's a very strong character, and her going out there and doing anything possible for her family, it really came through in her performance. I think everyone actually in this film gave really solid performances. Maleficent Simmons, I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, who plays the daughter in the film, Regan, amazing.
Yes.
I think she was the standout. Well, I said I think they all did a good job. She really stood out to me.
Yeah, she was
I
really
really
good.
can't wait to see what she does outside of these films, because she shows great range between the first movie and this movie. That growth of that character and her as an actress, I was actually really surprised by that.
Introduced a new character in this film, and it's played by Cillian Murphy, and he is, again, like, really good in this.
One of the real big standouts in the movie is actually his relationship with the daughter, Regan, and their kind of journey that takes place during the film. There's some moments with those two characters that I think transcend being a horror film. There's a lot of drama in this movie. This movie isn't like a pure horror film. I think it's kind of morphed into a horror drama that really talks about, the human spirit and how people interact with each other and kind of the devolution of humanity. You do get to see some weird things happening with people throughout the movie. Not to give any spoilers away, but it kind of shows how the world can change in so many different ways from this crazy event. In this movie, you obviously have the monsters returning from the first film, and they're just so creepy. They're very human-esque, but yet still scary. Kind of remind me of a Demogorgon. But there's some moments in this movie that feel almost like that scene from Jurassic Park when they're in the kitchen with the raptors. And I love them as just like this unstoppable force. Like, they're not really a character. We're not really supposed to think anything about these monsters.
Yeah.
But I love that they're just like this relentless thing that just coming after you, and that creates the tension in the movie. Obviously, the first one had great tension, and this carries over into this one as well. Another great aspect of this movie, which is carried over from the first one, is the cinematography of the film. There's some really good tracking shots, especially in the beginning of the movie. The original setup scene where they're talking about how everything happened day one is very well shot. You're able to really build the chaos of the moment, but then follow the characters and kind of keep this continuous, almost looks like one long shot going on. They do that multiple times in the movie, and I think it's executed really well. And also, you have those really tension-filled moments where you're honed in on a character, but you kind of, something's happening. And you see, like, the visual cues in the background, like a slight movement or a slight sound. And it's able to always draw focus to those small moments, and I think it's really well done.
Also, like, the long, drawn-out shots, like the one with the train station, you just saw shoes, and it just kept going and going, and you're like, what is happening? What happened here?
Yeah, they build the tension with not just the sound, but with the cinematography. Yeah. And I also think that making the chaos of the moment captured in just one shot is really well done. There's scenes where you see a wide view of kind of what's happening, and then just that thing is flying around. There's just a lot happening in this one shot, and it just shows you how immensely powerful these creatures are.
Yeah, so I'd give this movie 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one more than the first one, I would
Yeah.
say. I just loved it. Was an hour and 30 minutes. It was to the point, had great acting, great cinematography, great sound. It was just a perfect classic horror movie.
Yeah. So if I were to rate this movie, I would actually give it a 9 out of 10. Now that I'm thinking back on it, comparing it to the first one, I think it elevates everything that made the first movie good and fixed some of the issues that I had with the first movie. I never felt like when I was watching this one, I'm like, oh my god, this is kind of dumb, or like why does it work this way and not this way? They don't do that so much in this movie, so they kind of stick to their own rules, but then expand on like the drama of the situation. And I like the human elements in this one even more, I think, than the first one.
Also, can I just say I'm excited for anything John Krasinski comes out in the future.
I mean, this set him up. I mean, this guy can direct, this guy can act, this guy can write, so I can't wait to see him expand beyond this franchise. So again, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you saw The Quiet Place too, let us know what you think in the comments down below, and see you guys next time.
Bye!